Welcome back, as promised, from the Green Room at the Freed Center for Performing Arts, the campus of Ohio Northern University. We have Roger Williams, our special guest on the program tonight. Thank you for being here. Great to have you here.
By golly, I got here in spite of the weather.
Well, I'm going to talk to you about that because I thought you guys didn't book anything like north of the Mason-Dixon line until like May. You come in from Encino, California. You said when you left LAX yesterday, it was like in the mid-80s, and you come in and it's, as we're taping this, the wind chill is like below zero. Do you adjust to that when you're on the road?
I've been doing this, Rick, for, I think I started in 1902. And you never get used to it. The body just is always kind of behind times, even the time change. One day we'll be in Japan, and the next day I'll be in New York. And you have to be pretty tough in this job. I jog 5 days a week. I have a very strict diet that I adhere to. I hate both of those things. I hate to jog and I hate to eat vegetables. But if you're going to survive, I think my favorite saying in life is take what you want out of life, but pay for it. And if you want fame and you want notoriety and you want to be the best in whatever you do, you have to pay the price. And I've paid the price, and it's worth it. I love it. I love it. Once I sit at the piano, it makes all those missed flights and all those getting up earlies and the temperature changes and everything else worth it, because this is what I do best. I'm a lousy golfer.
But a great pianist.
Yeah, right.
You mentioned that you gotta pay the price. You have to pay the dues. Do you find that in young performers? You see so many that 18, 19 have a hit record and all of a sudden they're gone, or the group breaks up a couple of years later and they don't quite know what they got caught up in. Are they not as dedicated? Are they not paying the price?
That's right, and they pay the price with drugs and alcohol and everything else, and they go great for a while. I mean, it depends on what you want in life. I don't put anybody down. One of my favorite pianists was a man by the name of Art Tatum, who was a great jazz pianist. But Art never played well until he had about 22 beers in him. If I have one or two, I'm like this. Everybody has to figure out their own way. And I am the last guy in the world to tell anybody what to do except me. I have spent I'm a very selfish guy, Rick. I spent a whole lifetime trying to figure out what makes me go, what makes me work the best, what works for me. But to tell somebody else, I just won't do it.
And I get the feeling you're still learning about yourself. I read an interview that you think you're playing better today than ever before, and you're still working hard at it.
I'm playing better today than I've ever played in my life. And it's exciting. And this is a funny thing, Rick. You're going to think I'm really crazy, but I feel like I'm just starting. I think like all the greatness is ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
And the only ambition I really have in life is just to squeeze out whatever I've got in me. And that's quite a trick. I think most of us spend our life trying to squeeze out what's in us, because there's a lot in there that is very hard to get out sometimes.
Would you be happy doing anything else? You've got an engineering degree. It was the first degree you got. Would you be happy doing anything else?
Well, when I was a kid, I remember looking up at the stars one night in my hometown of Des Moines and saying, one of those is mine. And I said at the time, if I sell donuts, I'm going to make the best great donuts and sell the most donuts in the whole world. I always had that ambition to make it, to make something of myself. And I did get sidetracked in engineering. It was a funny thing. I went to Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa, and started when I was 16 in their freshman course, and they caught me playing Smoke Gets in Your Eyes in one of the practice rooms, and they threw me out.
But it was classical or no music at all, right?
That's right. It was all Bach and Beethoven, and in those days, why, you just, oh, this is terrible music. So I ran away and joined the Navy, and I joined the regular Navy, and they told me I had a very high mechanical aptitude, and so I graduated after the war in engineering. I think a lot of people are alive today because I didn't pursue it. But it's a funny thing. I get very upset with parents. A father will come to me and he say, you know, I put that bum through 2 years of college and all of a sudden he changed his major. I could kill him. And I say, gee whiz, there's a million things out there you can do. And to expect a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid to settle in on one thing immediately
And not change his mind.
and not change his mind is unrealistic. I mean, it's hard enough getting married at that age and finding the right one.
Yeah.
To choose a career that your father or mother expect you to pursue the rest of your life. And I think lots of times we have to try a lot of things. And there's always setbacks in anything we try, and there's a lot of hard work in anything, but you'll finally find that groove that you'll say, well, I'm sweating like crazy every night, and I'm working like crazy, but by golly, I like it. It's worth something. I feel like maybe this is where I belong, even though I hate certain parts of it. And that's when you settle into what you do best.
When you were away from music for a while, where it wasn't the focal point of your life, going to school and studying engineering was, did that make you appreciate music all the more?
Well, it was a funny thing, Rick. Music came so easy to me that I figured anybody could do it. And that's another thing that I think a lot of young people do. We're always looking at the other guy, and we're always saying, hey, I wish I could work a calculator like he does, or I wish I could swim like he does, or play football. And the very thing that we do best comes so easy for us that we just discount it. So we spend our lives trying to emulate somebody else without really finding out what we can do. And that was my problem. I played 13 different instruments by the time I was 12, and I could just pick up anything, and it just seemed so simple to me. So when I got into mathematics, that was a real challenge. And, oh boy, I wish I could do what that prof does, and so on.
Yeah.
And that's what sidetracked me. But I finally realized that, hey, people can't really do what I do. And that's when I started really keying in on music.
It's said that at age 3, you went up to the piano and started playing. Is that true?
Yeah.
You were that young when you started playing
you
piano?
know, I've never really crystallized my religious beliefs. But I know I was given a gift. Because when I went up to the piano, I just started to play. It was like maybe I should ask Shirley MacLaine. But it was like I had done it before. You know, it just came so naturally to me. And I figured, well, anybody can do that. And so when I got back to music, why, all of a sudden, just everything started to happen, and big.
It's interesting because anybody that's ever taken a lesson of any kind knows what we're talking about. You didn't really like the practice time, and you were one of the milk and cookies where you had to have a reward, and all of us went through that went through some type of lessons. We had to have a reward at the end, and you were the same way.
Thank God for my mother. In fact, even today, gee, I feel like I'm going to a psychiatrist or something today.
Well, we're on a couch, so this actually worked out well.
Even today, the way I whip myself into line is I say, okay, Raj, if you sit down today and work for 3 hours at that piano, by golly, you can have that Milky Way you wanted. Now, if I eat the Milky Way at the first, I'm never going to do those 3 hours. But if I find that I discipline myself enough to reward myself for some of the things I don't like to do, then I get them done. But that's hard to do. It's much easier to just sit down and eat the Milky Way and
yeah. Well, self-discipline is interesting because you fly in, you're doing this date, you're in Lima, Ohio, actually Ada, Ohio. It's cold, the tunes you're going to play tonight, you probably played hundreds of times before. Yet you're going to spend a lot of time rehearsing, a lot of time preparing for this concert. Is it difficult to get yourself to do that? The easy way would be, I know these things, I can rest this afternoon, it's cold outside, I don't want to go over to the theater early, I can go over and I can put on a good concert. But yet you're spending 2, 3, 4 hours this afternoon in preparation. Is it tough to get yourself to do that?
Very. But one thing I have done, most artists send in their musical director, and he rehearses the orchestra. I rehearse the orchestra. I rehearsed them last night. Gee, we started at 8:30, and we quit at 1:45. Now today we'll start in about another half hour, and we'll work for 2.5, 3 more hours. But in that time, I get to know every musician. They get to know me.
Right.
And we play so much better that way. And Rick, tonight, I will go out into the audience before the concert, and I'll meet everybody. Not everybody, but doggone near everybody. I'll shake hands. People think I'm being nice. I'm just warming up my hands.
We got to take a break. We'll be back more with Roger Williams in just a second. Stay tuned. Coming right back. Back with Roger Williams on the program tonight from the Fried Center for Performing Arts here at Ohio Northern University. We do a lot of shows here and in the green room. We really don't talk a whole lot about the facility. This is really a beautiful facility.
It's beautiful.
And someday on the show, we're going to take the camera and go through and show you some of it in case you haven't been here for a performance. But this is an excellent facility.
I was just amazed. You don't know how many big universities I go to. And I asked for a dressing room, and they put me back in the men's locker room. And I'm eating my sandwich in front of a stack of urinals that goes from one corner to the other. And I'm supposed to play a half hour later. Here they give me a beautiful green room and all the beautiful facilities. There's a refrigerator over there with Cokes.
This is really nice back here. You could live here.
You really could.
You really
Yeah,
could.
it's great.
I said, some of the kids, one of the problems is you get out and you get a real job. It may be not as nice in the real world as it is back at Ohio Northern University. It's
That's
a really
for
nice
sure.
place back here.
Well, I'm going to give them a good shot tonight.
Well, that's what you're saying, and you talk about what sets you apart from so many others is the fact that you're an entertainer. Is that
Yes.
is that difficult? The piano playing, you said, came easy, but actually being a showman, an entertainer, where you have the people in the palm of your hand for the course of the concert, is it difficult learning to be a showman, an entertainer?
It's a funny thing, Rick. It's just the opposite. For me, it's been difficult to really play the piano like I want to. I don't even think about being an entertainer. It comes so easy for me. I guess maybe that's because my dad is a preacher, and I grew up in the church. And, you know, the preacher's kid's always out there in front of people. And
Yeah, everybody's always watching you.
oh, yeah, that's murder.
You can't get away with anything, can you?
Well, I got away with a lot.
Oh.
I always say preachers' kids either end up famous or in jail, one of the two. Sometimes both.
So performing is easy for you. You enjoy getting in front of people.
Very. I don't even rehearse performing. I just get out and start talking to people, and it comes across very naturally, and we just get to like each other.
What do you think of music today? And I say that there's almost a return, and I'll call it like basic music. You see a lot of the vocal groups, especially the urban groups, Boys to Men, Color Me Bad, groups like that, a lot of harmonizing. Instrumentally, Kenny G, David Sanborn are very popular right now. Are we getting back to basic music? Not that there was necessarily anything wrong with metal, but you really didn't understand a whole lot of the words. The people performing it didn't understand a lot of the words. Are we back to simpler music, basic music?
Yes, and that's a tragedy to me, because when I was in school, why, every week we would listen for an hour at our desks to the New York Philharmonic. Today, the whole emphasis is on science, mathematics. Most of the schools have dropped their music appreciation courses, in fact, all of them practically. And kids are not exposed to so-called good music. In other words, classical music, or music that takes a little more time to appreciate and assimilate. For that reason, I think that music today is basically back to where it was in Africa 150 years ago, which was a very basic music, which was a drum beat and a chant. That describes rap. I challenge you to sing any of the rap songs. You can say them, and the words are great. They're
Right.
very creative. But as far as music is concerned, no. Although every year I conduct at Epcot in Florida, and we have 40 of the most brilliant young musicians in the country, and the kids are scary. It isn't that the brain isn't there. They're wonderful, but they're just not, the average child is not being exposed to music at all.
When we start talking about cutbacks, whether it's local, school, or national, with the national cutback, people are saying you got to cut back, and one of the things a lot of critics point to are the arts. That's something that we can set aside that we don't need. Why is it so important that the kids be given a foundation in classical music and other forms of the arts? Why do you think it's important?
Because everything today is here, and it needs to be here. That's the difference. Music gets you in the heart. It makes you feel. And so many of the kids today, especially the kids that don't have any parents, they don't have any feelings. Why should they? They're not exposed to feelings, and they just as soon rob you or stab you without any conscience at all. Music, oh gee, all I say I really do is play the melody, and I phrase like a singer. And I feel. When the melody says, I love you, I play that way, Rick. When it says, I hate you, my tone gets very cold. I feel it. And so many of the young people today are devoid of feeling. And that's sad. It really is.
It's interesting. You'd probably say the same thing about business today with downsizing and everything else we're hearing about. It's done with the head rather than the heart because we put a lot of people out of work whenever we do this.
That's right.
Whenever we shift from industrial to service-based or whatever, we're putting people out of work. We're cutting back on their income.
And it's the same way in the record industry. The record industry now is not being run with people that are musicians and have any heart. It's being businessmen are running it. And they look at who's selling the most records. If Madonna's selling the most records, boy, it's a tremendous pusher, all we can. But if someone that plays beautifully isn't selling 5 records, they won't take a chance. Now, in the olden days, and the kids are always talking about the olden days.
The good old days, once upon a time.
Yeah, once upon a time. Why, if a record company head had faith in you, and believe that you had talent. I remember when Dave Kapp found John Williams. I remember, this is who I recorded for, Kapp Records. He found John Williams, he found Burt Bacharach. He put these men out on record again and again, and they didn't sell 5 records at the beginning. But he knew the talent was there. He knew the potential was there, and he was willing to work with them until they hit it big. That doesn't happen anymore. Boy, if you don't hit right away, you're out, man.
You're gone.
You're gone. You're out of here, as they say.
They say the same thing with the movie industry. It was taken over by accountants,
yes.
Number crunchers, the same in television. Our network, NBC, taken over a few years ago by GE and more concerned about bottom line than some of the programming. And unfortunately, you pay the price at some point for that.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm not looking to change the world, but by golly, I'm not going to change me. I'll tell you that. I'm going to do what I do best. And let the chips fall where they may. And they've fallen pretty good over the years.
Yes, they have been. What are you working on projects now? Any recording projects?
Oh, yes. I'm doing another album this year. I'm playing Carnegie Hall in another month. I'm playing with, well, I just played with 3 symphonies in Florida, in Tampa, St. Petersburg. I'll play with the Detroit Symphony, the St. Louis Symphony, the Minneapolis Symphony, Seattle Symphony, Los Angeles Symphony, New York Philharmonic. It's a great year.
Is that a fun part of what you do? You go in, you experience new people, new musicians, maybe new interpretations, certainly new challenges as you go in. Is that what keeps you so vibrant, the fact that it's a new challenge every time you sit down to play?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, yeah. I don't feel old at all. Because, you see, when you get old, it's when you do the same thing every day, and the years go by, and you're at the same place but I'm somewhere different and I'm griping most of the time, because it's, oh man, it's cold here, I gotta go out in that, I gotta walk over there today, or wow, it's hot, and I brought this heavy coat, and everybody's looking at me like some kind of a nut. You know, even to pack for these trips is tremendous, because you don't know where you're going to be, and you can only guess what it's going to be like. And
when you sit at the piano stool and you're ready to play, that's when everything goes
That's when
away.
Everything is worth it. But the airlines drive you crazy. If they don't have enough people on board, they'll tell you they have mechanical problems, and you sit there and there are 80 musicians on stage waiting for you to arrive, and you are in Des Moines or Omaha trying to get there, and that's what really drives you crazy. Or these like last night, I said we work till 1:45. We will pay our rooms ahead of times and tell them we're going to check into a hotel, and when we get there at 1:45, they say, well, we're sorry, but we gave your room away. And that gets tough. But then when I sit down at the piano and I
forget all about that.
Forget all about it.
We've got, unfortunately, just a couple minutes left with Roger Williams after these messages. Stay tuned, coming right back. We're back. Just a couple minutes left with Roger Williams in town as we're doing this to appear at Ohio Northern University, the Fried Center for the Performing Arts. And as I say, unfortunately, just a couple minutes left. A lot to talk about in terms of your career. And you did a while back an interesting album, Today My Way, where you took some of the popular songs of Huey Lewis and Billy Joel and people like that and recorded it. Yeah, it was great.
Well,
it was great. Was that fun doing that? Taking
I loved it.
Contemporary at the time and putting your touch with it and recording it.
Yeah, and we did it all with synthesizer and piano. In fact, I was the first guy to use synthesizers back in the 50s when they first came out. We'd set up a synthesizer and it would cover the whole room, and it'd take them a whole day to set it up. And you'd put the telephone plugs in to get there. It was crazy. But again, synthesizers don't have the heart.
Yeah.
They're wonderful and they're thrilling, but they don't have the feel that a live musician has.
You see that when you go to a lounge or whatever, you got one guy up there that sounds like a 14-piece orchestra, and you're looking around, you're going, just one guy up there, and you're right, you don't have the same feeling.
And as long as he's playing in rhythm, as long as he puts the drum machine on, why, you go with him, you know. But as far as any rubato or slowing down retards or anything, nothing.
How do you choose material that you play in the performances?
I like it.
And I guess that's important. If you don't like it, we're not going to like it if you're playing something that you feel forced to play that you really don't feel.
Well, tonight, this whole second half of the program, and we're running out of time, but the whole second half of the program will be requests. I'll take like 40, 50 requests out of the audience, and I'll put them all together. I know about 10,000 songs, and I can play them in any key. So they don't stump me unless they hit me with some school song or something that I've never heard.
Some fight song you never heard of.
Yeah, I never heard of.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun because it's a tremendous challenge for me. And I don't play them in their original keys because then I'd modulate all night. But I'll be playing one in one hand and one in the other, and it gets pretty scary. It's the high point of the show.
No wonder you're so young. That keeps you young.
Oh, yeah, it's
thinking
different
quickly
every night.
like that.
Every night it's different.
How about the songs that you've played, Autumn Leaves and songs like that?
Well, that I get every night, but that's the only one I can count on.
Do you change that from time to time?
No. If I do, people get very upset.
They want to hear it the way they remember it.
They want to hear it the way they play it.
No matter if you've heard it 10,000 times or not, they want to hear it the original way from you.
Well, I used to hear that Paderewski played his Minuet in G and hated it, and Rachmaninoff hated his Prelude in C-sharp minor. I love Autumn Leaves. I've been gathering green leaves now for about 25, 30 years.
Well, it's funny, I tell you, I've been driving over here today in the blowing snow, and Autumn Leaves sounds pretty darn good right now.
Oh, boy.
Singing that, coming over here thinking, you know, that's not a bad time of the year when you think about it. Roger, unfortunately, we're out of time. So great to have you on the program.
Hey, Rick.
Nice meeting you. If you get back this way, stop by again.
Okay,
Thank you for watching.
I'll do it.
Back next Sunday evening, 11:30. Have a good week. See you then. Take care, everybody. Good night.